Tom woke up before the sun every morning and opened his small garage with tired hands and quiet hope. He lived in a narrow house beside the road where dust settled on everything. His garage was old and noisy and smelled of oil and metal, but it was the only place where he felt useful. Tom had learned mechanics from his father many years ago, and though life had not been kind, he still believed honest work mattered. He fixed bikes, trucks, and broken cars for anyone who asked, even when they could not pay much. Money was always short for Tom. He counted coins at night and planned meals carefully. He never complained because he believed complaining changed nothing. His neighbors knew him as a quiet man who helped without asking questions. He fixed doors, helped carry boxes, and repaired engines without pride. He wore the same faded shirt each day and wiped grease on a cloth that was more whole than fabric. Next door lived a woman named Rose. She was older and calm and always dressed simply. She waved at Tom every morning but never spoke much. Her house was neat and quiet, and she spent time in her small garden. Many people thought she lived alone with little money. Just like Tom, she never invited guests and no one knew her story. Behind her house sat an old Chevelle covered with a torn cloth. The car looked forgotten, rust marked its sides, and the tires were flat. Children passing by laughed at it and called it a dead car, but Tom never laughed when he walked past it. He felt a strange pull, like the car was waiting for something. One morning Rose walked into Tom's garage holding her hands together. She asked in a soft voice if he could look at her old Chevelle. She said it had not run in many years and she did not have much money. Tom looked at her face and saw worry mixed with hope. He did not ask for payment. He simply nodded and said he would take a look. They walked to the car together. Tom pulled off the torn cloth. Slowly dust filled the air and sunlight touched the faded blue body. Tom walked around the Chevelle and studied it closely. He saw rust but also strength. The shape was still proud and the body had not bent or broken. He opened the hood and stared quietly. Inside he found an engine that surprised him. It was old but complete. Many parts were original and carefully kept. Despite the years, Tom felt his heart beat faster. Someone had loved this car deeply. He asked Rose how long it had been sitting. She said it had belonged to her husband, and after he passed she could not bring herself to fix it. Tom felt respect grow inside him. He promised to do his best. He pushed the Chevelle slowly into his garage with help from Rose. The wheels resisted, but moved as if the car agreed to be saved. The garage felt different that day, fuller and alive. That night Tom could not sleep. He thought about the Chevelle and its story. He knew fixing it would take time and effort. He also knew he would earn little from it, but something inside told him this job mattered more than money. The next day he began working carefully. He cleaned parts by hand and labeled every bolt. He worked slowly and gently like a doctor treating a patient. He spoke softly to himself as he worked. The radio played low music, but most of the time there was only the sound of tools and breathing. Rose visited often. She brought simple food and watched quietly. She never rushed him and never complained. She thanked him every time she left. Tom noticed her eyes followed his hands as he worked, like she was watching memories come back. As days passed, Tom discovered more signs of care. The wiring had been protected. The engine had been serviced regularly long ago. This was not a forgotten car. It was a loved one left waiting. Tom felt honored to work on it. At night after closing his garage, Tom stayed longer. He worked under a small light and wiped sweat from his face. His hands ached, but he felt peace for the first time in years. He felt purpose stronger than survival. He did not know it yet, but the Chevelle was about to change his life, and Rose was not just a quiet neighbor. She was watching closely, learning who Tom truly was without him ever knowing. Tom continued working on the Chevelle day after day, and each morning he opened the garage with more energy than before. The car had become part of his daily thoughts, and he planned each step carefully before touching a single tool. He moved slowly and respected every part as if it had a voice of its own. His hands were steady and his mind was calm. The garage felt warmer now. Even though the walls were the same, old tools seemed useful again, and the smell of oil no longer felt heavy. It felt familiar and safe. Tom cleaned the engine piece by piece and placed every item in order. He believed that care brought good results, and he treated the Chevelle with patience. Rose visited almost every afternoon. She never interrupted his work and never asked how long it would take. She sat on a wooden stool near the door and watched quietly. Sometimes she smiled, and sometimes her eyes looked far away like she was remembering another time. Tom noticed she never spoke about herself and never complained about waiting. One evening Tom found a problem deep in the engine. The repair would take many hours and the part needed was costly. He leaned back and wiped his hands, feeling tired and unsure. He could tell Rose and ask for more money, but he chose not to. He decided to repair the part himself using skill and time instead of money. That night he stayed late after the street grew quiet. The light in his garage was the only one still glowing. He worked slowly, shaping metal and testing each movement. His fingers were sore, but his heart felt strong. He remembered his father teaching him that a good mechanic fixed problems others avoided. The next morning Rose arrived with food and warm tea. She noticed Tom looked tired, and asked if he was resting enough. He smiled, and said he was fine. She placed the food on the table, and thanked him again. Her voice was gentle, and full of trust. That trust pushed Tom to work even harder. As the days passed, the Chevelle slowly came back to life. The engine began to turn smoothly, and the sound filled the garage like music. Tom felt pride, but kept it quiet. He believed good work spoke for itself. He did not rush, and he did not take shortcuts. While checking the trunk one afternoon, he noticed the lining was loose. He lifted it carefully, and found a small leather folder hidden beneath. It was old and worn, but kept clean. Inside were papers neatly arranged. They showed records of careful service and special notes written by hand. The names and places meant nothing to Tom, but he could tell the car had once been valuable. Tom closed the folder, and placed it back where he found it. He did not mention it to Rose. He felt it was not his place to ask questions. His job was to fix the car, not to judge its past. He respected privacy just as he respected machines. Rose noticed his quiet focus and began to see more than just a mechanic. She saw a man who worked with honesty and patience. She watched him help others who stopped by the garage. He fixed small problems without charging. When people looked worried, he never asked for praise and never spoke of his own struggles. One afternoon, a young man came in with a broken bike. He had little money and fear in his eyes. Tom fixed the bike quickly and waved him away with a smile. Rose watched from a distance, and her eyes filled with emotion. She said nothing, but her heart was moved. The Chevelle now stood cleaner and stronger. Its body still showed age, but its spirit felt alive. Tom washed the dust away and repaired what he could without changing its character. He believed history should be respected, not erased. At night, Tom sat outside his garage and looked at the car. He thought about how something old could still matter. He wondered about Rose and her quiet life. He never imagined anything beyond what he saw. He believed people were what they appeared to be. Rose, on the other hand, thought deeply about Tom. She had lived many years and met many people. She knew kindness when she saw it, and she knew honesty could not be bought. She had chosen Tom for a reason, and each day confirmed her choice. As the repair neared completion, Tom tested the engine again, and again the sound grew smoother and stronger. The garage filled with warmth and hope. He felt nervous and excited at the same time. He wanted the car to be perfect. Rose stood beside him as he worked, and placed her hand on the car gently. She thanked him for treating it with care. Tom nodded, and said it was an honor. He meant it with all his heart. Neither of them spoke of the future, but both felt change in the air. The Chevelle was more than a car now. It was a bridge between two lives moving toward something unexpected. The work was not finished yet, but the bond was formed, and the truth waiting ahead would soon change everything. Tom stood quietly as the Chevelle reached a moment he had imagined many times. The engine was ready, and every part was in place. His hands shook slightly as he turned the key. The sound that came next filled the garage with deep, steady strength. The car was alive again, and the air felt heavy with meaning. Rose covered her mouth, and tears rolled down her face, but she did not cry loudly. She simply stood there holding memories close to her heart. Tom stepped back and watched her reaction, feeling a warmth he had not felt in many years. He did not ask for praise, and he did not smile widely, but inside he felt proud. The Chevelle rested like it had been waiting all this time, and now it was awake. Rose walked slowly around the car, touching the body, and whispering words meant only for herself. Tom looked away to give her space and respect. After a long moment, she turned to him and handed him a thick envelope. Tom hesitated and said he had not finished cleaning the body yet. She smiled gently and asked him to open it. His eyes widened when he saw the amount inside. It was more money than he had earned in many months. His breath caught, and he tried to refuse, saying it was too much. Rose raised her hand and told him this was not payment, but thanks. She then asked him to sit with her on the old bench near the garage door. Tom listened quietly as she spoke for the first time about her life. She told him she had once worked in business with her husband, and together they had built something strong. She explained that after his passing she chose a quiet life and hid her past from the world. She said money had brought noise and fear, and she wanted peace. The Chevelle was the last thing her husband had driven, and she wanted it repaired by someone who cared, not someone who only saw value. Rose told Tom she had watched him for a long time. She saw how he worked late, how he helped others, how he never asked for more than was fair. She said she tested him by offering little money and watching his choices. Tom felt his face grow warm, but he did not feel angry. He understood why she did it. She said people showed their true self when no one was watching, and Tom had done that every day. She thanked him not just for fixing the car, but for reminding her that goodness still lived in simple places. Tom lowered his head and said he only did what felt right. Rose stood and looked at the Chevelle once more and said this car brought them together for a reason. She told him she had plans for him if he would accept help not as charity but as respect. Tom did not answer right away. He looked at his hands stained with oil and thought of his father and the lessons he had learned. He realized that kindness could open doors he never knew existed. The garage felt brighter, and the future no longer felt heavy. The Chevelle engine cooled slowly beside them as two lives quietly changed forever. Tom woke up on a quiet morning feeling lighter than he had in many years. The sun rose gently and filled his small room with warmth, and for the first time he did not feel fear about the day ahead. When he stepped outside, he saw Rose standing near the Chevelle smiling calmly. The car looked strong and proud and ready for the road. Rose invited Tom to walk with her, and as they moved slowly she spoke about the future. She told him she wanted to help him grow his garage not by giving money freely, but by trusting his skill and honesty. She said she believed his work deserved a place where people could see it. Tom listened with care and respect. He felt unsure, but also hopeful. Rose explained she had already arranged for new tools, better lights, and repairs for the garage. She said his name would be on the sign, and the work would still be his own. She wanted him to succeed without changing who he was. Tom felt emotion rise in his chest, but he stayed quiet. He knew words were small compared to action. Over the next days, changes came quietly. New equipment arrived early in the mornings, and workers repaired the roof and walls without noise. The garage slowly transformed into a clean, strong place, but it still felt like home. Tom continued working the same way, greeting every person with patience and respect. People noticed the change and more customers arrived. They came not just for repairs but because they trusted him. Rose never stood in front or asked for attention. She stayed in the background, watching with pride. The Chevelle now rested in her driveway, shining under the sun. Sometimes she drove it slowly through the street, and neighbors watched in surprise. They began to see her differently, but she remained the same calm woman who waved each morning. Tom and Rose shared quiet talks in the evenings about life choices and lessons learned. She reminded him that wealth meant little without purpose, and he reminded her that kindness was strongest when unseen. Together they found balance. Tom hired a young helper and taught him with care, just as his father once taught him. The garage became a place of learning and fairness and hope. Tom never forgot where he started, and Rose never forgot why she chose him. The Chevelle remained a symbol not of wealth but of trust and honesty, and as time passed both knew that the greatest repair was not the car but the path their lives had taken together.